welcome back. This is Kiss Burnout Goodbye Global Virtual Retreat 2014, Day 15. Today we're entering into week 3 of the retreat. It's a 21-day retreat, and it's 21 days because that's how long it takes to form a new habit. So in the first third, we were looking at new perspectives on burnout, learning what burnout even is and what research is being done and how you can approach it in a really practical way. Week 2, we were looking at structures that serve and getting clear on money and time management and other structures within your life. Week 3 is set yourself free. This week we're emphasizing humor, pleasure, and play. And today you're going to meet Dr. LaBay. But first I want to remind you that yesterday, Kelly Adkins left us with the question, what lights my heart fire? What lights my heart fire? So I want to remind you that you can go into the free forum and enter your questions there and start to engage with each other about the answers to these questions. Or you're always welcome to send me an email and just let me know what the answer to your question was so I can give you some free support and some encouragement to take some steps towards this question. Sometimes even sending one email or just letting one person in your life know this is what lights my heart fire and this is the step that I'm taking to take me in that direction is enough to spur you to action, to keep you walking along that path. There's a meditation in the Bye Bye Burnout tribe that's really great along those lines from last week as well. So some of the interviews you've seen have been pre-recorded. Most of them were live. This is the last pre-recorded interview. Mary Lee is traveling and teaching at this time, so she pre-recorded with me at the very beginning. And I think you'll find that this is a really juicy interview. Dr. LaBay is the author of 5 books, including Hypnotherapy, A Client-Centered Approach, and Exploring Past Lives, Your Soul's Quest for Consciousness. She teaches the professional hypnotherapy program at Bastyr University and at Bellevue College, and she also instructs professional trainings in past life regression and techniques of spiritual exploration. Beginning in the late 1960s with studies in tarot and astrology, Mary Lee continued her pursuit of the spiritual with intense training from the Celtic and Druidic perspective, moving into hypnotherapy as a means to bring this work to a greater population. She followed up with a doctorate in behavioral psychology and certificates in NLP, Reiki, Gestalt, EFT, and applied kinesiology. She was named among the top 100 thought leaders of 2007 by Personal Excellence magazine, and she maintains a private practice in Bellevue, Washington. She also happens to be my hypnotherapy teacher, and I actually got into hypnotherapy because I went to an open forum looking at continuing education, thinking I was going to do something completely different, and I was so impressed with Mary Lee's presentation of her work, of herself, her presence, and her authenticity that I ended up taking a different path than I intended and getting into hypnotherapy, and I'm so grateful for that. So without further ado, I introduce you to Dr. LaBay. So Mary Lee, I want to start with just finding out what drew you to this work.
To the hypnotherapy work?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was all the spiritual studies that I did younger, in my younger years. And, just wanting to have all the self-exploration, discovering, when you growing up, we're always wondering, who am I really? What am I all about? And so through the past life regressions and tarot and astrology, of course, I was really seeking that for myself, all the things that I was exploring for my own self-development and growth. And then when I, got to a point where I wanted to present a lot of this to the world, because a lot of people were asking me then, can you help me with my past lives and give me readings and all of that. So I was doing that kind of work. And I decided to pursue hypnotherapy because I thought it was kind of a natural technique that would blend well with the other things that I was doing. And maybe it was a little more acceptable or at least known to the public. When you'd say, oh, I'm a psychic or I do astrology or something. I don't know, it felt good to have the hypnotherapy there. And then once I learned all the techniques of hypnotherapy and went back and combined it with the past life regression and the astrology and tarot and the psychic and intuitive and all of that, it just opened up incredible doors for me and for what I was able to offer to my clients.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a whole different world. Even from when I learned hypnotherapy, I was taught the techniques, but the way that I blended it and brought in these other concepts and philosophies and journeys and exploration, it has become a bigger body of work.
So you really made it your own and kind of used it to tie together all of your expertise.
Right, exactly. Mm.
And so when I say hypnotherapy to people, a lot of times they go, oh, wait, my friend stood up on stage one time and had to do this embarrassing thing. And can we just dispel those rumors right here?
Yeah, a lot of people have that opinion. And, that's what you see on TV. That's, very entertaining, the stage hypnosis. And you see it in movies, and it's kind of that old concept. And it's very powerful stuff. The stage hypnosis blows my mind. I don't know how to do that. And it really does show the power of the subconscious mind and the willingness of people to be able to do those kinds of things. However, in hypnotherapy, with the emphasis on the therapy side, it's a very gentle process. And in the way that I do it, client-centered hypnotherapy, is a dialogue between the client and myself. So the client is in a trance state that is really like a meditative state. It's low enough to be connected to the subconscious mind, but you're still above the sleep stage so that you can maintain a conversation, a dialogue with me, or with the therapist. And so we're extracting or connecting to all this wisdom and understanding and knowledge and messages from the subconscious mind. And of course, we can even take that to dead people and spirit guides. And, we can go on into the larger spiritual worlds as well. But then, it's bringing that into the conscious mind and then sharing that and then allowing. And now I'm not even remembering what your question is. If I go off onto a track here, I think I'm in trance. Oh, that's right. So it's not dangerous, or it's not mind control, because it's very client centered. So I don't actually do direct suggestion, which is what a lot of the other kind of hypnotherapy is about. Put them into a deep, deep trance. They'll probably not remember anything that happened. Do a lot of direct suggestions. They come out, voila, something has shifted. But here, what I like to do is really respect the process of the human consciousness. There is a reason why these things have happened, whether it's smoking or eating or anger issues or stress, as we're talking about. These things are all messages. And I think that by finding out what is the message, what is the underlying issue that's happening there, is much more interesting than just having it taken away. Because then you know how to avoid doing it next time. We can look at what it is in me or the client, what is it in the client that allowed this to happen, to allow the stress to build up, and stress has many, many faces, to allow this to happen. And then we go in and we find the pathway that is individual and unique for that particular person to undo that, or to now avoid that, have tools and techniques that will allow them to avoid that in the future.
Yeah, that's been the most impressive thing to me as I've utilized the techniques that you've been teaching me, is that people's come up with their own solutions in such an elegant way, way beyond what I could have suggested. I never could have thought of it.
Exactly. It's so beautiful. And then for the therapist, it's wonderful because we're learning so much about the human psyche and how they're piecing things together and how they're creating their universe, and now how we can adjust it so that their universe is working better, so that they're interacting with reality in a way that's really working for them in their own unique experience, and their unique set of, personality and background and culture and everything. It's fascinating.
And I think that's huge when we're talking about burnout and we're talking about high stress, because there's a lot of external environmental influence, and the answer is going to be different for each person. Completely.
Absolutely. There was this is an interesting fact, I think, and I included it in my PhD thesis. There was a 30-year study by Suzanne Segerstrom and Richard Miller who did this 30-year research that the conclusion was that the nature of the stress that a person has will directly lead to the type of disease or condition that they will develop. So we use that in hypnotherapy. I do in the way that I practice it. We can look at the stressors. If we have the symptoms of the stressors, we can look at that and, of course, avoid getting to the other end where the disease symptoms are. Or we can look at, if we've already developed the disease, if something is there, we can trace it back to what the original stressors were. But the idea, our body is a perfect communication device, both with, between the spirit world and ourselves, but also our higher consciousness, all the messages that it wants to deliver. It'll start making noise out here. We start to feel the stress, but for most of us in the modern world, we go, well, I don't have time to deal with that right now, and I'm strong, and I can deal with it, and I'll just schlep a little more stress on, and I can pile that on because I'm tough, I can do it, until it's too much. Well, all these stressors are giving us valuable information. So in the hypnotherapy process, we want to go out there as soon as possible and find out exactly what is wrong, because if we don't deal with it, then eventually the body will start screaming at us. The aches and the pains and the accidents and the conditions and the diseases and all of these things start to develop because the subconscious mind says, I'm trying to get your attention here. If you would pay attention, we wouldn't have to do this. So, the sooner we deal with those stresses. And the stresses, in my experience, really have to do with the discordance between a person's ideal values, which would include being very purposeful, understanding your purpose and marching very directly towards that purpose, having all of that in your consciousness with a distinct value system that you honor, right, to the way we live our lives, right? So, meditation, eating healthy, going to the gym, working out, taking care of myself, what I call sacred selfishness. And then you look at, well, how did I spend my day? Well, 8 hours answering emails, being upset about this, caretaking for everybody but myself, blah, blah, blah. And then we find that stress because those are not lining up. So that's just, that's the philosophy. In my sessions, we actually create those value systems, and we work with those as we're working so that, they become a map. And what we eventually want to do is get rid of all the blocks that are preventing you, all the concepts or dutifulness or the things that keep us from being sacredly selfish, and then creating that so that the life is aligned with those values.
So the external life can be really congruent with what's internal.
Exactly.
And then any choice that you make makes sense, whether it's a very high pressure job or totally taking a long sabbatical or anything in between.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
So I understand you have a little experiential opportunity for us today. Would this be a good moment for you to share that?
I would love to share that. I call it the Bliss state.
Okay.
And it's kind of a little visualization that I created. And the background for it is that, during the day, we all have an idea of what we want to feel. If only, then I could feel, then I'd be happy and relaxed and I could be stress-free. If only. right? And so life gets in the way. And so this bliss state meditation just reminds you, we go in and we connect with what it is we really want to feel like, and then always come back to that during the day, even when life kind of kicks us to the curb. So we could just do that really quickly. It's kind of a short thing.
Sounds great.
So, just to preface, don't be listening to this in the car. Don't drive or manage some other thing. This would be a good time to just sit down, find a comfortable place to be relaxed, and hopefully a little quiet time for yourself. It'll only take a couple minutes.
Stop the multitasking.
Yes, and not the time to multitask, because that's what we're trying to avoid here. So go ahead and take a nice deep breath and close your eyes for a moment. And just as you continue to relax for a moment, I would like for you to imagine that ideal, perfect bliss state. That state that you are striving to achieve. Someday, if only, then I could feel this. And, maybe there's a visual that goes with it. Maybe it's the little cottage out in the wilderness, or, some beautiful meditation space. But I want this to be an internal experience. So even though you might be visualizing, what I want you to do is to really focus on what would your body feel like if you were completely in that bliss state now. That balance, that flow of energy, the relaxation, the release of all that stress. Your mind might be very, very clear. And maybe for you there's, particular sensations, maybe little butterflies in your chest or an opening of the heart chakra. Maybe there's a sensation of the opening of the third eye. But I'm just going to give you a moment to really connect with, if you achieved that bliss, what would it feel like? And put it into your body right now. And I would like to ask your subconscious mind to present to you a symbol that you could imagine holding in your hand that would represent this bliss state. And some people, maybe it's the sun or a rainbow or a particular stone or a statue or some object or symbol that represents this bliss state. And this gift is yours forever and ever. And whenever you want to connect with this bliss state, you can take a breath and imagine this symbol in your hand and connect with these same internal experiences. Because bliss and happiness, peace, all of these experiences are an internal experiences that can be had, that can be yours, no matter what is happening in the environment, no matter what else is going on around you. You can always come back to this. And so any time throughout the day, we're going to call this your still point, or this is home base, right? This is where you want to be as frequently as possible throughout the day. So if life throws you a curveball and takes you a little bit out of your bliss state, you can simply handle that, but come right back here as quickly as possible to this bliss state and carry on with your day. If something kicks you to the curb, another one. A lot of times people stay there at the curb, and the rest of the day they're wallowing in that traffic jam or that thing that happened. But not you. You're going to immediately come back. You're going to envision your symbol And you're going to come back to this bliss state and allow yourself to be here immediately, frequently, always. So just taking a nice breath and really, really feeling. And as I count from 1 to 5, just opening your eyes, returning here to the present moment. 1, 2, 3, coming up. 4, aware of this time and space. And 5, fully alert and aware. And return here to the present moment. Wow.
I'm like, okay.
Okay. I love it because I go in trance with my clients. So when I do that, I'm just like, I'm going there too. So it's so yummy.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, we're okay. There's things to do.
Here.
But I love that going through, like, I feel so much calmer. I feel like I want to speak more slowly.
Exactly.
And that's something that can go through the whole day. And I have this image, I saw a red rose, and I can immediately feel and see it's like soft and it smells good and it's beautiful. And I can think about that anytime through the rest of the day and just get that feeling.
And that whole, I want to talk slower, maybe even deeper a little bit. We're just coming back into our body. There's a body awareness. Because the more we get stressed, the more we come right up here. I have clients that come in the office and they're just like, and talking and, everything is right up here. Mm-hmm. And we spend time just getting right into the body. And a lot of times people are just not that connected. Mm-hmm. They're just getting down here into those feelings. And so, coming back to that bliss state and allowing the body to be there, and then allowing yourself to think about whatever we need to handle throughout the day. But that slower, deeper voice is definitely, that more blissful space.
Mm. Yeah, and that's, I'm like, yes.
Yes. The other one, I have another quick thing that is amazing. So take your smile away. Just be very serious for a minute. And just feel your energy. As you get serious, feel what that feels like in your body. And then, you got it? Mm-hmm. And then smile. And feel the difference in your body.
Wow.
The energy, right?
Yeah.
And we're stressed. We're walking around, and we're serious and we're not smiling and we're maybe even frowning or tensed up. And if all you do is just smile, you get that rush of energy. I think it's so fun. It's just like this little rush of energy. It's like, that was too simple, right?
Because it works both ways, right? It's like what you do with your body tells your mind what's happening as much as what you do with your mind tells your body what's...
Exactly. Yes, always. And again, to elaborate on that, when we're stressful and stress is oftentimes worry or regret. We're worried. What's going to happen? It's not going to be right. And we're sending all these negative signals. Our subconscious mind, like you said in the beginning, wants to make us right. Mm-hmm. They want to find in the universe a way to prove to us that our view is correct. So they go, worry, everything's going to turn out badly or poorly. And so then that's what you are focused on. Oh, see, that didn't work out. See, that guy's a jerk. This is not happening for me. And it's building where if you change that and you're sending the signals to the subconscious mind that things are going to work out well. And, bumps in the road are just the challenges that make me stronger. You and I were talking about technology earlier and the struggles, right? But look at how brilliant we are with the things that we had to struggle with. We had to learn that technology. We had to deal with it. And now, we're smarter than some people. Not that many people, but those things are what build our characters. So when we look at those stressful moments in our lives, and we look at, this is like going to the gym and lifting weights. These stresses or these challenges, rather than making it a stress, think, well, how is this building my character? How am I strengthening by going through this? And if it's not, then maybe you need to look at an exit plan, right? If this stress is not building something that, of course, would, follow your value list, it's making me a better person, it's, getting me to where I want to go. If it's not, then obviously you need to cut the cord, move on.
So that's a really interesting question to me, because I think in the burnout paradigm and in service-oriented professions especially, people get into this habit, I know I've been there, where you tell yourself, or I tell myself, that this is character building and I should just keep going and I should endure, and there's this puritanical work ethic. And how do we find that line where it's
Well, there is another technique that from hypnotherapy, which is called secondary gains. And I've done this a lot with my projects because, I get busy and I'm, overloaded or something. And then I pull back and I go, okay, what's in it for me? Okay, so it's that sacred selfishness again. And the 4 questions of secondary gains is, what is the benefit of doing it? What is the detriment of doing it? What would be the benefit of not doing it? And what would be the detriment of not doing it? And you can do this as a journal project. Of course, I do it with clients in trance, but you could just meditate and then write down your answers. And it's really important to be very honest and open. Nobody else has to see your answers. But in that meditative state, maybe some things come up that you weren't even aware of that were motivating you to do this or to not do it. And it can be very, very eye-opening. And so I come back and I do that for myself. And then if the not doing it has more benefits, like, oh, then I could be free to do other projects, or I could go after the job that I really love, or I could be in the relationship that does serve me, or whatever those things are, then, according to your value list, you need to take care of that. And that might be what the real challenge is, because maybe staying in this thing and working hard is not the character building. Maybe the character building piece of it is, are you man enough to face making another choice, breaking up or quitting that job or taking a different path, right? Yeah. So you have to look at what is the challenge here really. Am I just copping out and saying, well, I'll just keep doing it, is that a cop-out, or is that really because it is taking you to the next level?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's really huge. I'm hearing myself, and I'm wondering if you can turn the volume down on your computer a little bit so that we don't have it double. That's much better on this end. Oh, okay. Is it okay on your end?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. It just started right there. Yeah, I think that's huge for burnout, and I think that if you get, I say this all the time in everything I do, but if you get nothing else from this, that's a really, really key piece for viewers to settle into. It's like, what are you really getting out of what you're doing?
Absolutely.
The real benefits. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about how you stay out of burnout, because you are very busy.
Yeah, I could be used as an example, right? I do a lot of self-care. I do get massage. I travel with my husband. I've started with a trainer, so I'm working out like heavy workouts 3 days a week with a trainer. I eat organic. I'm very good to myself, or as good as I can be. And I'm learning to be better. Because in my work with writing books and doing hypnotherapy, I have spent way too much time in the chair. So my body you know, is acting up a little bit about that. So I'm learning to stand up and move and exercise. I think that's mostly it. I've also, I've gotten to a place. I think delegation has been a huge piece for me, and I think for a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, it's very hard to let go. And for me, everything is my baby, and it all reflects back on who I am. And so it's very hard for me to turn that over. But I finally hired a technology virtual assistant. I just this week, and maybe because of you, my dear, and this project, I hired a local person who's going to handle more of the day-to-day things, interacting with clients and kind of holding me together, maybe helping me do event planning. I have a bookkeeper that works for me. I've turned over some of my writing projects to a writer, even though I still have a very heavy hand in editing because I still want that to be my stuff. But I kind of let him go, to create some things for me. So, learning to delegate has been a huge piece for me, and it's actually getting to be fun. I feel so pampered. Here, you take care of this. And so there's some, there is time investment in training that person and getting them to interact with you, and working with them. But it's really fun, and I just love my people. It takes a while to interview and get the right people, but I have such an amazing team now that it actually makes me excited, and I'm more excited about my work again. Because they can take a lot of the daily things off, just the little detail stuff that I've been trying to do it all. I was writing the newsletters and sending things out and, doing all of it. And now I can just say, here, this is what has to happen. And I can still supervise it, but a little bit, a step back. So that's been good. Yeah, I'm still overscheduling myself, Jeanell. I have to admit, I'm still doing that. But I'm justifying it right now because I'm going to be traveling a lot. I'm doing 3 weeks in Europe in October because I'm speaking at a conference, and so we made a nice big vacation. I'll have a week in California in December, 3 weeks in Southeast Asia in January. So, I do pamper myself with some really great travel. So, if you work hard, you can afford to do that, I guess. But it does come back, and to the word, to the phrase sacred selfishness. And I know with a lot of my clients, they were taught, and I was taught too, to be selfish is a horrible thing, right? And really what parents were talking about, I think, was greedy. You can't play with my toy. I'm not going to share. But as we grow older, the sacred selfishness really has to do with paying attention to your own needs. And it might mean that, yes, I pay for my child's college education because that feeds me. If my kids are successful, then our lives are going to be better. It does mean that I share with my friends and my spouse, and that generosity is there, but it comes from an overflowing cup. It doesn't mean that I sacrifice my energy, time, resources for other people, which is where I think a lot of burnout comes in, is, they're caring for people, or they're the doormat for everyone else, and they don't take the time to really nurture themselves. And that sacred selfishness is really coming back and saying, what do I need to keep my cup full to overflowing, where I can have enough that I can be very generous and loving and wonderful and present to the people in my life.
And I think one of the hard transition pieces there when people are first learning is that if everyone around you is used to you just doing whatever they need, and you start saying, I'm going to go take a hot bath, people say, well,
what about me?
Yeah.
But the thing is, and then the people that say, but you're just being selfish, right? Don't be so selfish that you're going to go take that hot bath. But what are they saying? They want you to do something for them. So they're the ones who are actually being selfish because they're expecting you to be their doormat or their slave and their servant, right? So in their complaint that you're being selfish is just really revealing that they're the ones that have been selfish all along. Yeah, and so some people do lose friends. You know, people don't like it, but then they attract friends who respect that. And then you're in a whole other world that is much better, you know, with people who don't need you to be that caregiver.
Yeah. Yeah. So that feels to me like shifting into really the mindset shift that people could take with them into their day. We've touched on quite a few different pieces, but is there any piece that as people move into the rest of their day and onwards that would be a really good just mindset shift? They don't have to do anything, but just think.
I think awareness. I think just awareness of the stressors and how they feel it. What are the signals that are coming in? Pain in the neck. Oh, my shoulder hurts. My back I've got pain. You know, how they feel the anxiety. And then just to take a breath, to step back and take a breath and say, you know, how does this serve me? Is this serving me? And if not, what should I be doing differently? And really come back to that sacred selfishness, I think. You know, if it's just going to be a simple, I think the awareness is so important because we're so used to not being aware. You know, at the end of the day, you go, oh my gosh, I think I had a headache all day and oh, my pain and all this stuff was happening. And during the day, you're just marching through it and not really honoring the signals that are coming in. So just just at the moment, even if they don't do anything about it in that moment, to just notice where those stressors are coming in and what's creating it and what is the mind chatter and what are the excuses for just schlepping it around instead of dealing with it. Just that self-awareness would be a huge step for most people.
Yeah, so how does this serve me and what... I'm sorry, I lost the phrasing there. I should have written it down.
How does this serve me and what could I do differently?
How does this serve me and what could I do differently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to stand up and say no. Maybe it's time to just say, well, excuse me, and go get a massage or take a breath or just something else to reset that and interrupt that pattern.
To bring it back to that feeling we had in the Bliss meditation.
That would be perfect. Just notice your rose or whatever your symbol is. Just remember that. Come back here. It doesn't mean that, you know, you could still handle the stressors that come. You can still handle the crisis. But now you can do it from a different internal space.
That makes a huge difference for yourself and the people that you're working with.
Yes, absolutely.
So I understand that you have a really awesome free offer and a really awesome sweet membership offer that starts with a little freebie. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes. When you go to my website, which is maryleelabay.com, you on the right-hand side of the website, you can sign up for my newsletter. And when you do, you get an instant free download of an MP3 of a full-length past life regression meditation. So there's a little intro to it and some suggestions as to how to go into the meditation more deeply and to, you know, achieve it better. And then it's like a 45-minute past life regression. So people can get in touch with who they were in other lifetimes. So that's the free one. So that's simple and direct.
And so that website is on this page. So they can also, you guys can click on this page as well and just go straight to Mary Lee's website so you don't have to know how to spell it right or anything.
Yes, exactly. And while you're there, I invite you to look around. I've got lots of articles on my blog and all the different offerings are there. So I really would love to have you look around.
And I want to tell viewers too that your newsletter is one of my favorites. So when they sign up there, it's like short, to the point, quick things to think about. I love it.
Oh, good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So you have a membership offer for us too.
Yes, and in the membership site, we've created I've taken excerpts from a lot of the classes and workshops and trainings that I've given, and there's the audios are posted there, so you can listen. You can learn a lot of techniques. You can listen to client sessions where I've taped. Usually, there's students of mine that agree to tape the sessions, so you can hear what it sounds like. And then there's a whole section of guided meditations there, and we're updating it constantly. We're having new ones. So it's a monthly membership. You get the first week free, so you can go in and you can check it out and see if it's for you. And so that's absolutely free. And then if you like it, you can continue with this subscription. And you can either pay by the month or you can pay by the year, which gives you a little discount. So it's really fun, and people are loving it.
That's a huge value. To get your constantly updated work is just a huge value for people.
Thank you.
I hope everyone takes advantage of that. Is there anything else that you would like to leave us with today?
No, I have one other little technique, because remember the smile technique, and there's another one that is just a really quick little thing, which is to just take a big breath and sigh. They actually did research that when you sigh, it's more stress relieving than if you just breathe.
Really?
So I have my clients do that at the beginning of the session. We'll do it now. So just take a nice deep breath in. And there's a reason why we did that throughout the ages. We would sigh because it's so relieving. And so that's just another really quick way to do it. But to let that sigh go, There we are, see? At the end of this interview, we're so jelly-like.
I know, I'm having trouble remembering everything I need to do next.
What am I supposed to do? I don't care. It doesn't matter, right?
But I'm also more clear. I want to say that too, that it's not just like, oh, I'm melting out of the world. It's like I have more bandwidth to have creative thoughts and be open to new directions.
When you sigh, you can just blow away all that mental chatter and then get clear on what you want to think about or what would be good in this moment.
Yeah, so you've given us so much juicy stuff, the bliss meditation, the smile piece, the sigh, and then I want to remind everybody the question.
Secondary gains. Yep.
What? Secondary gains, absolutely, that was huge. And then the question of the day, which is how does this serve me and what can I do about it, or what other choices can I make? So I invite everybody to contemplate that over the course of the evening, and thank you so much for being on this call to share your wisdom with so many different people. Any last little pieces you want to say before we sign off?
Just be sacredly selfish. Yes. And it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Jeanell.
Thank you, Mary Lee. It's been really an honor to talk with you. I hope you enjoyed this meditative deep dive with Dr. Mary Lee LaBay. Mary Lee had the brave privilege of being the very first person I interviewed for this whole series. And I love her question, how can I be sacredly selfish? How does what I'm doing in my life serve me? How does what I'm doing in my life serve me? And how can I be sacredly selfish? I hope you enjoy contemplating these questions over the course of the next 24 hours, and we'll see you tomorrow at noon Pacific time with Sandy Pendleton. Blessings.